offer you this lesson from Unity of the Keys Spiritual Center.
So there's a yogi by the name of Bird's Nest Baba, and he actually liked to hang out in a tree. That's how he got his name. And someone asked him, "Baba, what is meditation?" And he said, "In the West, you have a saying. When you know something really well, you say, 'I could do that with my eyes closed.' But meditation is different than that. When you master meditation, you can do it with your eyes open." The inspiration for today's message about what is metaphysics, what is mind training, what is prayer, how do we define mindfulness, really came out of that story for me. I've studied many different traditions, but the tradition of mind training, I think, was brought to a whole nother level of sophistication in Tibetan Buddhism. In Tibetan Buddhism, like in many traditions, you start with the preliminaries, but in Buddhism, they call them the preliminaries. We have them in Unity, we just don't have it so organized. So let me tell you, according to the ancient wisdom of the Tibetan tradition, what the preliminaries are for mind training. So there's 3 very important things to consider if you're interested in training your mind, which we call in Unity prayer. Because in Unity, we used to, anyway, define everything as prayer, whether it was meditation, affirmative prayer, denials, visualizations, any technique of mind training. We called it prayer because we define prayer in this way. Anything that heightens our awareness in the direction of God. And for us, prayer and meditation include the release of counterproductive negative thoughts, as well as holding in our mind statements of spiritual truth, which we would call in Tibetan Buddhism mind training. So here's the 3 preliminaries. The first is, know that your human life is precious. You could have incarnated as a dog, which may be preferable. I mean, some people would like to come back as my dog. She gets everything. But in the Tibetan Buddhist tradition, and in many of the ancient traditions, that is the first thing to know. It's not easy to get to be here on this earth as a human. So it is precious. And the second preliminary, it's time limited. It's impermanent. We're all going to die. And so that brings us to the third preliminary. If it's precious and rare to be a human and it's time limited and impermanent, use your time wisely. And here's how you use your time wisely. You have to discern, and this is just a preliminary, you have to discern the difference between what is just pleasurable and what's beneficial. That's quite a contemplation, isn't it? That's quite a place to start. It moves on. There's many, many different techniques of mind training just to learn to quiet the mind. It's called shamatha, peace-abiding mind, stability of mind. I have to smile when, I was first meditating. I thought I was meditating. My teacher kept asking me, "Are you sleeping or are you meditating?" And I didn't know, and I would be off on some tangent, and she'd say, Are you here? I don't know. I didn't know what I was doing. And then I went to a 10-day silent meditation retreat where there was no chanting. There were no statues to look at. It was so different than anything I had ever done. We were in a barn, and there was nothing. There weren't even things, cushions to sit on. It was so austere. And all my mind kept doing is, how can I get out of here? This is not what I signed up for. What am I doing? And oh, my knee, oh, my back, oh, my butt. I mean, the whole meditation time with my, really amazing Buddhist monk teacher who was like 103 at the time. I would say 99.9% of my thoughts were, I hate this, I'm hurting, can't we chant, can't we dance, can't we do something fun? It was so horrible. The first thing I asked him, because I was really young and I had a lot of energy, I said, you're not supposed to break your silence in this tradition unless it's something really, really important. So it just shows you where I was at. Bhante, my first question to this esteemed monk, can I run? He was like, where will you go? I kind of didn't get the Zen implications, so I go, oh, nowhere in particular, just run around, aerobics, it's good for you. I'm starting to embellish, chatter about. He looks at me. I don't believe this will be beneficial. I could not walk slowly. I mean, even my Tai Chi teacher to this day tells me I'm the fastest Tai Chi student he knows, right? Because, it just takes a lot. I remember taking yoga when I was a teenager, and I'd get to the end of the class, and the yoga teacher would go, how was it? I go, it was so hard. Just to be that still for that long for someone like me, But over that 10 days, even as resistant as my mind was, and as my ego tried to talk me out of it, I healed my eyes. I mean, it was a completely new experience for me. I had worn glasses all my life, and he told us to take them off at the beginning of the 10 days. And then, I went through this experience, and I'm so happy to be going home. I don't know what that was, but whew, I made it. And I put my glasses on, and I can't see. And then I realized I can see. And so that was the beginning of my understanding of the power of silence, what the Fillmores called entering into the silence, and how many of us, when we just sit there in meditation, we're not in the peace-abiding shamatha state. We're just in this terrible monkey mind. And it takes effort. It takes time. It takes prayer. It takes so many techniques and practices. One of my teachers has this huge book on meditation, and it's all techniques of meditation. I mean, you can just open it anyway and do a technique every day for the rest of your life. But it's all preliminaries. So here are some of the techniques for resting your mind in mind training and what we would call affirmative prayer. Be grateful to everyone and everything. Always maintain a cheerful outlook. Contemplate your success. And they mean your success in stabilizing your mind. You're proficient in this practice when you can do it even though you're distracted and dismayed. Do what is wholesome and refrain from what is not wholesome. And here's another one. There will be ups and downs, but whatever occurs, be patient. And here are 7 precepts that are like our denials and affirmations, but in this other tradition. Practice with great courage. Don't act on impulse. Don't allow yourself to get angry. Don't focus on other people's problems. In Unity, we would say, don't focus on other people's problems or any problem. What do we do instead? It's called the golden key. Think about God instead, right? Don't focus on the problem. You'll never get the solution doing that. Focus on God. Focus on good, whatever is worthy of praise. What's the scripture, right? Whatever is noble, whatever is true, think on these things. I love this one. Change your attitude, but remain natural. Don't covet praise or seek to place blame. And this is the coverall. Train in all areas without any partiality. So I want to talk about metaphysics and metaphors in general. I heard this story from my teacher, Zonliang Al Huang, who was a close personal friend of Joseph Campbell, the great mythologist, and I love this story. He said Joseph Campbell was being interviewed by a radio talk show host. He was getting very frustrated because the radio talk show host seemed not to understand the idea of myths and metaphors. And so finally, Joseph just said, to him, in order to understand what I'm saying, you would have to understand what a metaphor is. And the radio talk show host goes, I know what a metaphor is. It's like if there's a fish in the story, then you're making an analogy that I'm like the fish. And Joseph says, no, a metaphor is when you are the fish. And the guy goes, that's not a metaphor, that's a lie. So a metaphoric mind and metaphysical Bible teaching in our tradition is when we understand that all these stories, every person, every place, everything in the story is an aspect of our consciousness. They can have an incredible effect on us if we enter into the story. Jesus did not say you're kind of like a sort of a light. He said, you are the light of the world. I am the light of the world. Can you feel that difference? That's a metaphoric, metaphysical consciousness. I am the light of this world. I am going to let my light shine into this world. And there's a Christian tradition of reading and studying the truth as a form of prayer, with meditation and using it as a form of mind training. It's called Lectio Divina, the divine word. This idea that Scripture itself has a way to transform our consciousness and to speak to us about our personal problems. In Sanskrit, we call this Matrika Shakti. The energy of life is contained in the vibrations of the word. And they can illuminate us. Or not, right? The words of someone of integrity speaking the words of truth has a lot of Shakti. Have you ever noticed that it doesn't when it isn't? Right? You feel it in your gut. It's like, ooh, that person just lied to me, right? So Matrika Shakti is there when we intend and ask and bless this Scripture to illuminate us when we're open to it. Because the word is not the thing, right? Tree is not a tree. I mean, we're just beginning to glimpse what a tree is. I mean, trees breathe out what we breathe in. Trees send out their shoots miles into the earth to send micronutrients to things we may never see that don't live without them. So there's this incredible network of interconnection in the earth, and we call it tree when it looks a certain way, but it doesn't capture what that is. And that's why there's so many names for God. So many names in Tibetan Buddhism for consciousness, for aspects of consciousness. When I first went to graduate school at Naropa University, I felt like I needed a dictionary. The ordinary way that people talked was so foreign to me. I had no idea what they were talking about because they had so much language to describe spiritual attainment. And we have that language too. The Fillmores tried to make unity very simple, not complicated, easy to grasp. So I had an experience kind of like that radio talk show host when I came into Unity. I was reading the beginning of Myrtle Fillmore's How to Let God Help You, and I thought, this is nonsense. And it was Myrtle Fillmore's prayer called My Faith. And I'll share it with you because at the time, I had no idea what she was talking about. I do not believe in evil. I believe in good. I do not believe in sin. I believe in truth. I do not believe in want. I believe in abundance. I do not believe in death. I believe in life. I do not believe in ignorance. I believe in intelligence. There are no discords in my being. Being is peace. My faith, understanding, and love are becoming one. What therefore God hath joined together, let no one put asunder. When I read this the first time, I thought, this woman is insane. How could she not believe in evil? There's so much evil in the world. How could she not believe in sin? There's so many people off the mark. How could she not believe in want? There's people starving in the world. You know, I thought she was completely insane. And my teachers kind of led me a little bit along. And one of the things they said that always made sense to me is, what is belief? What's that word mean to you, belief? It's what you give life to. Be, live, right? It's what you stand for in this life. So this is not a relative truth statement. This is a series of denials and affirmations to become the truth of her being. It's her faith that I'm not aligning myself with evil. I am aligning myself and giving myself to the force of good. I'm not wasting my life thinking about sin. I am focusing my attention on the truth. I'm not giving power to want. I know we could solve world hunger tomorrow if we really put our energy in the direction of doing that, because I believe in humanity. I believe in abundance. I believe in life. I believe in intelligence. I believe in peace. And there are no discords in my being. Now, I've read Myrtle Fillmore. I know that she had a lot of discord. And she had illnesses even after she healed herself of tuberculosis. She's honest about them. She talks about them freely. But she affirms there are no discords in my being, because my being, my ideal energy, body, my true nature is peace. That's what I stand for. And may my faith, my understanding, and my love become one in me. Isn't this beautiful? And then she quotes the scripture. What God's joined together, let no one put asunder. So she's doing a marriage ceremony on her own self. She's marrying herself, her true nature. Such a beautiful, beautiful thing. And, you know, it didn't make any sense to me when I was younger. And unity is like that. These ideas, when you first hear them, James Dillett Freeman used to say, when I go to religious gatherings, he used to say, which I don't like to do, they always say, unity is one of those feel-good religions. And he would say, well, I'd really rather be in a feel-good religion than a feel-bad religion, you know? But it can seem that what we're doing here is Pollyanna, right? But actually, no, it's very courageous. In a world of dominator thinking, in a world where we have been programmed to think in a particular way as being the truth, as being real and rational, it takes a lot of courage to do mind training. It takes a lot of courage to think affirmatively, speak affirmatively, and be a stand for peace in this world. Another favorite story, and I'll close with this. There was some yogi, and I don't know who it was, but I heard this story, and I just have always loved it. He was being criticized for brainwashing people. You know, a lot of his followers would leave their families or leave their religions and go sell flowers in the street in the 60s, you know? And so they were interviewing this terrible, no good, very bad yogi. And they said, "You're brainwashing our children." And not knowing what they meant, he said, "Yes, that's what meditation does. It washes the brain. It fills you with peace and love. It quiets your mind." Yeah, so that's what we're doing here. We're washing our brains. And now I'd like to share with you a story I learned from Carpool Karaoke with Paul McCartney. How many of you have watched that? Okay, so you know already that the next song that we're going to sing was not, in fact, a tribute to Mother Mary, Jesus' mother, although I still hear it that way. Actually, Paul McCartney tells a story of being down and out in his life. I mean, really discouraged. And his mother, his own mother, came to him. She had died, but he had a vision of her. And she said, "Paul, let it be. Just let it be. It's all going to be okay." And he'd never heard those words before, "Let it be, let it be." And he created this song we're going to sing next. If you haven't watched Carpool Karaoke, you have to do it. Just Google Paul McCartney's Carpool Karaoke. It's very lovely.
When I find myself in times of trouble, Mother Mary comes to me, speaking words of wisdom. Let it be.